Pretty nice morning here in Dallas, Fort Worth. Grass is starting to wake up. Did a scalp. This will be filling in here within the next coming weeks. But I want to talk to you guys about the Bermuda Triangle. If you've never read my blog, then maybe you've never heard of this. But it's a common method for controlling weeds, and you can kill 99% of weeds using this method. And if you've been in lawn care for a few years, you probably already know this. But I have a couple products here. We got a pre-emergent. So a pre-emergent is used to basically block the germination of weeds, but it takes a little bit of time. We are March right now, March here at the time of this video. And so a lot of the weeds we're seeing now aren't just from the spring pre-emergent, but also the success of the fall pre-emergent. And so in the fall, we usually use something called Spectacle Flow as a pre-emergent, but you can also use prodiamine. And then I used prodiamine in January. And that's used to, again, block the germination by forming a barrier. You wash it in, you spray this. It's a granular, and you mix it in a sprayer, like a 4-gallon tank sprayer, as you can see there, according to the label. And it can be a little complicated to follow the label. People are always asking me how to read that, but just take your time. I took the label off of this. I usually take it inside, sit down on the couch, read the label one night, and then apply it another time rather than trying to, do it on a quick turn. It unless you've done it before, it will take some time to understand the label and mixing some of these, because they're not super straightforward. Lots of different rates for lots of different types of grass and what you're trying to do, but that's a whole different thing. But the first thing to do to deal with weeds is to make sure you have a pre-emergent down. So, for example, if I was to treat my neighbor's yard, most of what's green there is actually weeds at this time of year. There's not a whole lot of like Bermuda grass out of dormancy yet. So if I were assigned to clean up the weeds, for example here, the first thing you would do is do a pre-emergent. And so this video is about post-emergence, but there's no point doing any post-emergence until you have a good pre-emergent down, because you're just going to kind of be like, you ever see those memes where it's like you have the boat and you're bailing out one end, but it's the holes in the other end of the boat, and so it doesn't matter how much you're bailing, like you still got to fix the hole in the other end of the boat. That's a pre-emergent. So get a pre-emergent down. There's lots of different options. There are granular options if you don't want to spray. Spraying is going to be a little bit better for pretty much almost anything with the lawn. So a 4-gallon tank sprayer is a good idea. Now, once you have that down, there are a number of different types of weeds that you may have. Like it might be, in my lawn, I have like a couple types of weeds. I don't know if we could find some. There's a weed right? No, that's not a weed. I thought that was a weed. Over here where I recently scalped, there's some weeds here. So there's a weed here, weed there, there's a weed there, weed. There's a handful of weeds right here. I see at least 10 weeds. They're all the same weed though. Right, no, I was hoping that'd be some nutsedge. But we only have one type of weed right now. However, in most lawns, like there's some dandelions right there I see. Most lawns, if you're just starting out, you probably have like 5, 10, 20 different types of weeds. So you need something that kind of is like a broad approach. And you can use something cheap like this. Image is a great option. I've almost used all of it. The thing is with these is they're not super concentrated. So it looks like you're getting a lot. You're definitely not getting a lot. This here in a bottle, I'll get it out. This Certainty here, super small bottle, treats probably like an acre, probably 40,000, 45,000, and that's 6,000. So we'll be looking at like a difference of like 8x. This is 8 times more potent than something that's more than 8 times the size. So you're looking at like 8 times 8, 64, probably closer to 100 times potency. Something like this, Certainty, compared to Image. Of course, Image is like $20. This is like $120, but you don't need a lot. And so you can take, I'll show you right here, you just need a few of those little grains of rice, and it will tell you what to scoop. But you don't need much at all. And of course, that's the size of the scooper there, and usually I'm using the small one. But so Certainty is used with Celsius. Now, this is not the official bottle of Celsius, first of all. What you can do if you don't want to buy a full one of these is you can go on the local groups, go to the BermudaBible.com click on forums, make a post, or go in the Facebook group link there. Go there, make a post, or any lawn Facebook group, and say, hey, I'm in Arlington, looking to split Certainty with 2 other people. Let me know if you want to split some with me. So instead of $120, you're in for $60, or you're in for $40, or however you divide it up. That's what I did with the Celsius, because again, I don't have a lot of weeds. And look, I bought like up to here. I've only used, if that. I have so much left. I just don't have any weeds anymore, so I just won't go through. Like, you'll buy one of these, buy one, cry once, and you won't finish it because you'll have no weeds. Similarly with this, I have went through all of that, and you can absolutely start with this. But this video is about the Bermuda Triangle. And the Bermuda Triangle is 3 products. I'm going to get the 3rd one out here right now. But first of all, it's 2 selective herbicides, Certainty and Celsius. Certainty is going to kill any of your grassy weeds. So anything, we didn't really look any grassy weeds out there. I looked for some nutsedge. I looked for some POA. I can show you what some POA looks like. I have some on the side of my house where I don't spray. But Celsius is more for broadleaf. There is an overlap, and you can get Celsius Extra, which will do actually more. You could argue potentially you could replace Certainty and Celsius with Celsius Extra. That's an option, but that's not what I did. But we already looked at some broadleaf weeds over here. More broadleaf, another broadleaf weed there. I don't know what that is. Right here could be some POA. No, I'll show you some POA over here. So over here, I don't really take care of this part of the yard. It gets no sun over here, so I just kind of let whatever happen. So it's not a mud pit. But here's some POA annua right here. Annual bluegrass. Now, anywhere else on this lawn, focus, I'd want to spray that and kill that, because it will drop seed heads and come back more aggressive next year. I'm kind of indifferent because, like I said, Bermuda grass, I do have some dormant Bermuda here, but it never grows in thick because this is shaded all day, every day. And I could replace this with stones or something, but I don't. And so I just kind of let whatever go on over here. I don't really care too much. But if it was on my front yard, I would absolutely want to spray the POA annua with Certainty to get rid of that so it doesn't drop seed heads, because POA annua is getting more and more resistant to pre-emergence, like prodiamine and whatnot. And so it can be really tricky. Some people use Spectacle Flow. Again, you'll need to group buy that because it's quite expensive. So split it up with some friends or some people you met online or know online, and that's an option as well. But POA annua is a big pain. So Certainty will kill that. Celsius will kill that broadleaf, Celsius, broadleaf. So here's another weed here. This one's quite large, actually. Some of these are so big you can just pull them. But anyways, most of this, pretty much all of this, there's nothing here that wouldn't get wiped out by that combination right there. However, if you do have something that doesn't get killed from that, so for example, like Dallas grass, or something that's really, really tough to kill, and most of you are not dealing with that, but there is sometimes a situation where you're dealing with something that these 2 don't kill. If you only have Image or something, not to say anything bad about Image, great product, very affordable, very accessible at Home Depot and Lowe's, but there are more weeds that this won't kill than like over here. I mean, this is more like broad spectrum, going to cover a lot more, give a lot better results than something like this. Of course, as you'd expect, this is $200+, this is $20. So, but there are a selection of weeds that these don't kill. Like this only suppresses Dallas grass, so it doesn't actually kill it. You'll need to, again, this is a triangle, so if we picture a triangle on the tailgate here of my truck, like this. So we have grassy, broadleaf, and everything else. And what you can do is just mix this up into a little bowl or a little cup, and take a paintbrush and just basically paint it on to weeds. And Bermuda, even if you hit a little bit of Bermuda, it will recover quite quickly. Bermuda is really resilient, and so if you have I got this spot right here that's kind of bare because I scalped it really aggressively on purpose, but this will all fill in really nicely with some nitrogen. Some people will spray glyphosate on dormant Bermuda grass. I do not recommend that unless you're somewhere far north like Tennessee or somewhere where it goes really dormant. In Dallas, Fort Worth, we don't really get dormant enough. Most lawns, most Bermuda grass lawns are not getting dormant enough to really be able to apply this. You will get some marks and some kind of polka dots on your lawn come springtime in anywhere in Texas, anywhere in Florida, anywhere kind of in the South, like I said, unless you're far up like Tennessee or something, or Kentucky or somewhere where you're right in that transition zone, you might be fine, you know, come January, February, to spray anything green, which would be a weed, in like January, February, that time of year generally, with glyphosate. And I say glyphosate, not Roundup, because Roundup, depending on where you live, isn't glyphosate, and there's different additives and different versions. There's just more things can go wrong. There's some versions of it where you might not catch it, but it's like, for example, the one that says 365 will suppress anything germinating. So it's like a pre-emergent and a post-emergent all in one. That's not what you want. You just want glyphosate, and you can get this from Tractor Supply. You can get this from Amazon. Whether you want to shop online or in store, you have both the options, but compare and save, super cheap. This is maybe $10, $15. I won't go through all this. I went through one smaller one, bought a bigger one that comes in like 10 sizes, but I'll never go through this. I just don't really have enough weeds for that. But put that in a little pump sprayer, and you'll put these all in a I wouldn't use a 4-gallon. I would use a 1-gallon pump sprayer and spot spray. So unless you have a whole bunch of weeds, you're probably going to spot spray, not blanket spray. And so I spot spray with something like this, a 1-gallon. This is a $10 pump sprayer, super straightforward. I do a lot of my spot spraying with this. And then if I'm doing like a pre-emergent or blanket spray, I'll use a 4-gallon. This is not a pump sprayer. They come in pump versions, but this does have a battery. And so with all the post-emergents on the tailgate here, we got Certainty, Celsius, glyphosate, Image. Those all use a surfactant. If you don't have a surfactant, they're like $8 on Amazon. If you don't want to do that, you can use dish soap. That'll make it stick to the leaf a little bit better. You don't use a surfactant with prodiamine or any pre-emergent. That gets washed into the soil by itself. Whereas this stuff needs to sit on the leaf for, a few minutes, ideally a few hours or a few days, for it to get properly absorbed. The first time you apply, if I was dealing with a really weed-infested yard, I put these two together, mix it at medium rate, and you can do a blanket spray, assuming you have a ton of weeds. If there's just patches and different ones, say you have 100 different spots, I would just spot spray those 100 different spots rather than doing the whole lawn, because eventually I've been in that situation where I've done a blanket spray too many times and affect your soil health, and then you start to get weak soil and you wonder why your grass isn't growing very thick, and you just you start to have issues on the grass growing slowly, the grass not spreading, not thickening up, and it's just looking bad and just slow and awful. You get that when you do too many blanket sprays. So generally just a blanket spray maybe once with something good. Don't go high rate, go medium rate. And anything that isn't knocked out, come back 2 weeks later and retreat. Kind of like, think about like boxing, right? Like generally like a knockout doesn't come from like one punch. It's like you set it up with a jab or something and then come through with the cross. It's kind of that idea where it's like, it's like, you can spray once and just hopefully it'll knock everything out, but it's really best if you spray it twice, like at a lower rate. Hit it when it's weak, like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, hit it that second time, and then it'll really knock out even the toughest weeds. So I've done a goosegrass test on the channel where after one application, it pretty much did nothing, but once you hit with the second application, it really starts to go away. Goosegrass almost has to be treated twice. So anyways, that's the Bermuda Triangle. It's these three, like I said, spot spray when you can. If you don't want to buy all of this, go online, find a couple people who want to split this with you. Hopefully you're in a city or somewhere where folks will do that. But this is how you can get rid of 99.9% of weeds. And honestly, once you add in the glyphosate and the paintbrush method, you're talking about 100% of weeds you can kill in any Bermuda grass lawn. So good luck. Let me know if any questions in the comments.